Okay, so imagine this, that you have this beautiful old bowl, maybe it's ancient, and it's cracked. Perhaps it was even, shattered at some point. But instead of throwing it away, someone's painstakingly repaired it. Filled those cracks with, like, shimmering gold lacquer. The breaks aren't hidden away. No, they're actually highlighted, celebrated. They make the bowl, well, even more unique, more resilient. That's the image we really want you to hold on to today as we dive into what affirmation truly means. Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today, it's kind of like this. We want to dissolve what you think affirmation is and rebuild it into something that can actually, survive contact with the messiness of real life. So if you've ever felt that typical self-help advice, will just fall short when you're facing real-world problems, the complicated ones, then yeah, this deep dive is definitely for you. We're going to be exploring this idea we're calling Lucid Rebellion. It's this powerful way to say yes to life, not by pretending everything's rosy, but by becoming, well, more real, more grounded, more potent, maybe.
We are going to get a little philosophical today, maybe dip into some deeper waters. But stick with us, because by the end, we think you'll have a genuinely new framework, something for navigating disappointment, failure, uncertainty, all while keeping hold of your own agency, powerfully.
That kintsugi bowl image you started with is just perfect, isn't it? It really gets to the heart of what we mean.
Yeah.
Because, so often we're basically told to ignore the cracks, put on a brave face, right? Or just like repeat positive mantras over and over until somehow we believe them. But the truth is, life. Well, life involves bitterness. It includes disillusionment, sometimes spectacular failures. And any approach to, let's say, well-being, that can't handle that reality. Honestly, it feels incomplete. It kind of forces you into this corner, choosing between like this naive, sometimes even toxic positivity and just, bitter cynicism.
Exactly. And I think for you listening, you're used to digging deep with this. You've probably already seen through that hollow promise of, everything happens for a reason, especially when you're staring down something genuinely tough. So the question is, how do we get beyond that false choice? How do we find like a third way, one that embraces the truth, the whole truth of our experience, without just getting stuck, paralyzed by it?
And this is precisely where we can bring in this idea of alchemical affirmation. Think about the old alchemists for a second. Their goal wasn't to deny that lead was lead. They didn't pretend it wasn't there. No, their goal was to work with it, with that base material, to try and transform it into gold. So they actually engaged with the raw, imperfect reality of lead. They didn't try to bypass it.
Right. So what if our approach to life's inevitable letdowns work like that? What if instead of denying disappointment, we actually learned to transform it somehow? Instead of just avoiding failure, we metabolized it, turned it into wisdom, resilience. It's really fascinating when you start noticing this pattern, this dynamic out in the world.
It really is. You see this transformation, not denial, kind of woven into so many different parts of human experience. Take music, for instance. What makes a piece of music really profound? It's not just the happy major chords, the neat resolutions. It's often how the minor chords are used, right? How those moments of dissonance create this tension that actually deepens the harmony when it arrives. Think about the blue notes in jazz, those notes that are slightly off, a little bit bitter sounding. That's what gives jazz its soul, isn't it? Without them, it's just, it can be kind of bland, elevator music maybe. So the bitterness isn't the enemy of the beauty. It's actually integral to its character.
That's a great analogy. And it's not just in art, is it? Think about post-traumatic growth, that psychological concept. It's such a powerful idea that people who go through really severe challenges, they often don't just bounce back to where they were before. Frequently, they actually exceed it. They find new strengths, totally new perspectives, maybe a deeper appreciation for life itself. And that growth, it doesn't happen despite the trauma. It seems to happen because of how they integrated it, how they processed that incredibly difficult experience. They didn't deny the pain. They somehow transformed it, made something profound from it.
And that is the absolute core of alchemical affirmation. It's about integration, you see, not elimination. It's transformation, not just avoidance. It asks us really to face reality, even the painful bits, and then, crucially, engage in a process of metabolizing that pain, turning it into something constructive.
Yeah, and this connects directly to what we were calling quantum conviction, which is this ability to hold your beliefs, your goals, hold them lightly but firmly at the same time, all while being fully aware of any evidence to the contrary or challenges that pop up. It's definitely not denial. It's more like existing in this active, dynamic tension with reality. It's a flexible kind of strength.
Flexible strength. I like that. The best analogy I can think of for this quantum conviction is a jazz musician. They understand music theory inside and out. They know the melody cold, but they know it so well, so deeply, that they can improvise around it beautifully. They can stretch and bend the notes, kind of dance with dissonance, but they never completely lose the song, right? They hold that melody with conviction, absolutely, but they also allow for this amazing adaptation and creativity within that structure.
Okay, so think about applying that to your own life. Maybe there's a belief you hold or a goal you're working towards that you're struggling with right now. What if you could hold it with that kind of flexible, almost improvisational strength? It wouldn't be about ignoring setbacks, would it? It'd be more like seeing them as, well, part of the improvisation, part of the journey, not the end of the song. And this kind of strength, it often shows up as what we started calling silent volcano energy. You know those people, they just have this unshakable presence. It's not loud, not flashy. They aren't constantly talking themselves up or trying to convince everyone else how confident they are. There's just something, well, tectonic about them, like this deep underground power that's just humming beneath the surface.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's what real deep affirmation looks like, I think. It's not some surface level show that, needs an audience to even exist. It's more like a deep geological foundation, like the huge unseen root system of a giant ancient tree. Your conviction, your sense of self, it doesn't actually require everyone else to sign off on it. It's this power that's steady, unyielding maybe, fueled by inner resolve, not constantly seeking external validation. It's confidence that doesn't need a spotlight, right? It just is.
And here's where it gets really interesting and maybe even empowering. Bitterness isn't actually the enemy in this whole process.
Yeah.
In fact, sometimes bitterness can be like the bitter compounds in really good coffee or dark chocolate.
Yeah.
In the right balance, it's not a flaw at all. It adds complexity. It adds character. It's what turns something potentially simple into something sophisticated, something profound. So the goal isn't necessarily to eliminate all bitterness from life. That's probably impossible anyway, but to learn how to metabolize it, to actually use it as fuel for creation.
Yeah, it's the drive, the impulse to transform this is broken into, okay, this needs building. It's this feeling we sometimes call gardening in ruins, that quiet determination to plant something beautiful, something new, right, where other people might only see rubble and despair. And you do it not because it's easy, it really is, but because it feels necessary, it feels needed. Not because you're naive about the challenges, absolutely not, but because you've decided consciously that the challenges don't get the final word.
That feels like the ultimate act of lucid rebellion against despair. doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try and we'll pull these threads together now. The core idea, the thing we really want you to take away from this deep dive is this. Affirmation isn't blind cheerfulness. It is a lucid rebellion against despair. It's an affirmation that has looked life's fractures square in the eye, the disappointments, the failures, and it just refuses, absolutely refuses to be paralyzed by them. So it's not about the absence of bitterness. It's bitterness that's been metabolized, transformed into agency, turned into a force for creation.
Exactly. It really is like a quiet fire, fed by realism, lit by your own autonomy, and aimed towards finding meaning. And we want to leave you with maybe 3 practical ways you can start to embody this philosophy, to bring this lucid rebellion into your own life.
Okay, first, when something goes wrong, and it will try practicing alchemical thinking. So instead of pretending it didn't happen or just getting completely lost in despair, ask yourself this question: how can this become compost for something better? Powerful. Just like a compost pile transforms, kitchen scraps and garden waste into rich, fertile soil. Your disappointments, your setbacks, they can become the nutrients for your future growth. They don't vanish, but their purpose can shift.
That's good. Second, try to cultivate quantum conviction. Remember the jazz musician. Hold your beliefs, your goals, lightly but firmly, like they did with the melody. Know it well enough, believe in it enough that you can improvise beautifully without completely losing the song. Maybe picture holding something really precious in your hands. You hold it securely, right? With conviction. But you don't crush it. You allow it space to breathe, to adapt.
Love that image. Okay, and third, develop silent volcano energy. Allow your power, your resolve, to simmer just beneath the surface. This isn't for show. It's not about applause. It's about cultivating a deep tectonic resolve. Your confidence doesn't need an audience to exist. Think of it like those massive unseen roots of a giant tree. They provide that unshakable foundation for everything you see above ground.
And the point of all this whole approach, it really isn't about becoming more positive in some superficial way. Not at all. It's about becoming more real, more integrated, and ultimately maybe more anti-fragile, stronger because of the stresses, not just despite them. So we invite you to just consider, how could this kind of lucid rebellion transform your biggest challenges right now? What might genuinely shift in your life if you started approaching your current struggles with this mindset?
Yeah. And here's the final sort of provocative thought we want to leave you with today. You don't actually have to choose between seeing things clearly, realistically, and acting hopefully. You can absolutely hold both. It's possible. You can be totally realistic about the difficulties life throws your way, and at the exact same time be rebelliously optimistic about the outcomes you can still create.
Remember that kintsugi bowl we started with? The one with the gold filling the cracks?
Oh, yeah.
Your cracks. They don't disqualify you. They aren't signs of failure. They're precisely where the gold gets in.
Until next time, keep that quiet fire burning. Purposefully. Rebelliously.